Welcome to Music City Horror.
Okay, welcome to episode 11. Happy 2018 to everyone. Happy New Year. We finally came together and we're ready to do a new episode. I have Kayla, KB, and Lana with me. I am Eli. And this week we're going to kind of do a preview episode, I guess is what we called it. We're kind
most anticipated.
There
maybe.
we go. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like, I was like, why can't I think of what I'm trying to say? So we're just going to kind of preview some of the, movies and TV shows coming out this year in the horror field, or, some of the subgenres, if you would. There's a lot more coming out this year than I thought. I have a whole page of notes and, releases and all kinds of stuff. When we started talking about the episode, I thought of like 4, and I think Kayla was talking about, not a lot of big hitters, and I don't think there's a lot of big hitters compared to like last year with it and some of the other ones, but there are a lot of releases coming out. Anyways, we just thought this would be a fun topic to kind of dig into and get started with. So we're just gonna go straight to it. Who wants to dig in first?
I'm happy to go first.
I feel like every time we do this in the middle of an episode, we're all like, "Oh my god, wait, who's gonna go first?
Who's gonna do it?" Maybe it's my teacher brain.
Just draw names from a hat from now on, because we're all like, we go into this like mild 2-second panic. Oh shit!
Right, yeah. And my old teacher brain is like, "Oh my god, there can't be that much silence. I have to." It's like I just get this weird itch where I'm like, I gotta go. I'm still happy to go first though.
No, please.
Okay.
That's something that always gets me.
So, when I was thinking about what's coming out this year, upon first glance, it was like, oh my god, it's just a lot of reboots and remakes and continuations, sequels, whatever, which is fine. Some of them look good, but it doesn't feel as much of a year of stuff like Get Out, where you've got a couple of really, really obviously creative things in there until you start digging around, and then you're like, oh, there is a lot of stuff coming out, like Eli mentioned, and stuff that you might not otherwise notice is coming out. So I wanted to kind of spotlight a couple ones that you might not have heard of for my most anticipated. So my first one that's coming out is coming out in February, and it's called Annihilation, which sounds awesome already. So the title's already into it. And it's written and directed by Alex Garland, who did Ex Machina. Did you guys see that?
I did.
With Oscar Isaac?
Yeah. I really loved that.
Really good.
Yeah, that was really good. And so when I saw his name attached to it, I was really excited because he's so different. I also read the book. It's a book by Jeff Vandermeer, and it's the first book in a trilogy. I don't know if they're making other movies or not, but the trailers have been out, and it's basically there's a team of experts, and they're going into this place called Area X where some weird shit's been happening, and the group that you're following as a viewer is all women, and Natalie Portman's the main character, and it's just this really mysterious, weird area. The trailers make it seem like there's a bunch of scary creatures. That's not necessarily true, so I would encourage people to kind of, before you go see this movie, and I do encourage you to see it, to kind of drop any preconceptions you might have about it. Just go in knowing it's going to be weird, because the book is super weird. And I just want people to go in with a really open mind, because it gets pretty crazy, and I think it could turn out to be something really interesting. I was reading about this, and apparently it had its first test screening was not so great, and people said that it was too complicated and too intellectual, and Natalie Portman's character wasn't likable, and I was like, that sounds awesome. I don't really know what. I was like, that sounds something up my alley. And apparently the writer, directors, and producers decided not to change it anyway, so I'm glad that something that's that unusual is still going to show up in theaters, and hopefully people will go see it. I know I will. That's one of my big things this year is, like, if I see a movie that's kind of weird but I really want to go see it, I need to go see it in the theater to support it. I know we probably all feel the same way too, where it's like, I really need to go see that in theaters.
That one's definitely on my list. Yes.
Yeah, it'll be really good. It'll be unusual. And my next one, I think I've seen a couple of trailers for this when I've gone to see the movies. A Quiet Place, the one with John Krasinski and Emily Blunt. He also directs it too, which I thought was kind of neat. It's the one where the family has to live in complete silence, and they use sign language, which I also think will be really, really cool as a concept to see. At least part of the movie will be in complete silence, no dialogue, and they're using sign language, which I think will be really cool. And that comes out in April. It kind of reminded me of, it just slipped my mind, the second Cloverfield movie where they are in the bunker.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember what that was
10
called.
Cloverfield Lane?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of reminded me of that a little bit. And that movie was really surprisingly good. So I hope this one will pop up in there too as being something just interesting and weird and different. So
I'm super excited about that one. That one was actually originally on my list
Sorry,
as well. No, it's okay. So I'm a big fan of, I like M. Night Shyamalan movies. So this honestly really reminds me a lot of like that kind of feel. So I hope that entire movie is like mostly silence.
Gosh, that would be so cool. Like, how like big are John Krasinski's balls to like do that? To just have like make an almost completely silent movie. Like, how cool? Because that's got to be interesting to pull off.
For sure. I also like that. I mean, they cast a real husband and wife.
That's true.
As the main characters, so that was really cool for me. Yeah. I mean, we all love that couple. So to see them in a movie together was really exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it a lot. I'm glad that you guys are too.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to it. And then my last one, when we were talking about this before I read the title, and everybody was like, what is this? So I'm so excited to tell you about it. It's so weird. It's called The House with a Clock in Its Walls. And I actually hadn't heard of it until I was researching this. It comes out in September. And as I was reading about it, like just a small spiral I went down. I was like, okay, I am totally hooked. So it is a gothic horror that's based on like a kid's like young person novel, maybe from like the 70s, and it's about a young boy who goes to live with his uncle in an old house, and the house has like a ticking like heart in it, and lots to do with like witches and warlocks, and the boy is like communicating with the dead and all that. And I really like, and since I work in a school with kids in a library, we have a lot of kids who ask for scary stuff. And so there's a balance of like, okay, what do you give them that's not going to like make them poop their pants, but also like scare.
Don't want parents to poop their
pants. I don't want parents calling me about like their kids having horrible nightmares, but also it's going to like creep them out. So when I heard about this, I was like, this is really cool. And it's starring Cate Blanchett, who I'm obsessed with, and then Kyle MacLachlan, who's in Twin Peaks, and Jack Black, who I also love. And he was so good in Goosebumps that I was like, kids just love him, and he's so good at this kind of wacky, creepy stuff. He's so good. But this is the big kicker. So this, like, young kid movie is directed by Eli Roth.
What?
Yes.
What? Are you serious?
I am so serious. It's so weird. It must have been one of those weird things that he liked when he was a kid or something. because that's the only reason I could think of him being like super involved with this. But I love the idea of him being a part of this project where people's eyeballs aren't getting like popped out or their guts aren't getting spilled everywhere. I was like, this is going to be so interesting for him, that I really just, as I was reading about that, I was like, that is so weird and so cool. And I really like him, and I'm not a huge gore hound, but I think that he can do a lot of interesting stuff, and I think that this will be really fun. I mostly just like the idea of Eli Roth and Jack Black hanging out is kind of awesome.
Agreed.
But that comes out in September. I don't know how big of a release it'll get, because it is kind of niche, a little odd, but I don't know. Maybe it'll be like the cool middle schooler thing to go see this fall. I don't know. It sounds cute though.
I didn't know anything about it, so now I'm super intrigued to see how that pans out. I'll have to. Is there a trailer out for it?
No, I haven't seen that much about it. As far as I've just seen like the information releases, but not photos or anything like that. I don't know how many people are like gunning for it either. It's kind of weird. I saw that. I was like, oh my God, I have to tell everybody about this.
How
funny. So cool.
Those are great choices.
Right, I agree.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what pops out this year. There's, something always comes up and surprises me. And I always am looking out for A24.
Mm-hmm.
They've got 2 coming out this year, but they're kind of being secretive about it. So that'll be interesting too, because I'm always looking forward to what they do with horror.
Yeah, I think did we mention that recently? I don't remember which episode it was on, but I feel like we actually mentioned that.
Yeah, I feel like Eli mentioned that really briefly. But yeah, so we'll see.
Because we all love A24.
Yes, so it'll be interesting to see what they come up with too. It'll be a pleasant surprise, I'm sure.
Awesome.
Well, kind of related. It's Eli Roth. He's also doing the Death Wish remake. Obviously not horror, but that's supposed to come out this year too. There is a trailer for that. So,
how about that?
Yeah.
Busy guy. That's awesome.
Also, kind of not horror. That's more of a action revenge kind of movie. So.
That's awesome.
But it's got Bruce Willis instead of Charles Bronson, so we'll see how that goes.
Very cool.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so who goes next?
I'll go next. I know. I'm on the edge of my seat here. So when I was Googling not too long ago, I found several things that are super exciting, like Kayla said, and lots of reboots, which I'm surprised about, which I know this is probably on Eli's list too, but I just want to point out real quick, Pumpkinhead remake. Awesome. That's one of my all-time faves. But
I mean, I'll reluctantly check it out, but
pull your arm, twist your arm, definitely. But first, I wanted to focus on the Slenderman movie. I don't know about you guys, but that whole trial with the 2 teenage girls that tried to stab their best friend during a sleepover. Yeah, I was like glued to that.
Oh my God!
Yeah. There's a really cool documentary on HBO about that.
I talked to way too many people at like social outings about that, like a freaking weirdo. I was like, have you guys heard of this Slenderman?
I'm like, did you see that?
I was like, I need everyone to talk about this with me.
Yeah, because I am not super familiar with creepypasta things. And I know that like some of my friends who have kids who are younger are more into that than I am, which is very weird to me. So this movie is going to be about 4 teenage girls that perform a ritual to try to debunk the legend of Slenderman. But soon one of the girls goes missing. So it kind of sounds like how the trial went a little bit, except the girl didn't go missing. She's still alive.
Yeah, she's fine.
Still alive. It's all good. But it's going to be directed by a guy named Sylvan White, who did some TV shows like The Following and Sleepy Hollow, which I loved both of those. So that kind of gives me hope for this movie being good. He also did a movie. I'm guessing it's the third installment of I Know What You Did Last Summer, but it's called I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, which you're not seeing that because I love those movies, but it was directed DVD, I guess. So
that sounds silly.
Yes,
it does. I would love. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to add that on my list just for shits and giggles. But Slenderman, that will come out in May. May 18th is when they're projecting it'll come out. My next one is The Nun, which The Nun from The Conjuring 2, which is the best part of that movie. I love that movie. Have y'all seen that one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. I think we're all excited about The Nun.
Yes. And, I mean, as y'all know, when we first started Skyping, when we first met, my little emoji screen was The Nun.
It was. That was so creepy.
Absolutely. I loved it.
I love her. So this one is supposed to be out in July 13th, and it's being directed by
for my birthday.
Oh, we should all go for your birthday.
Great.
Yes.
Directed by a guy named Corin Hardy, who did The Hallow on Netflix, which I have not seen, but I've had several people recommend it to me. But it will star. I can't remember her name, but it's the girl that played Violet in the first season of American Horror Story, the daughter.
I know who you're talking about, but I don't know who she is.
Yes, yeah, so she'll be starring in that movie. But she was in Conjuring 2, though. I feel like she was in Conjuring 2. But anyways, that'll be an awesome one. And third, lastly, what I'm most excited about is another installment of The Purge. And this is called The Purge, The Island.
Oh, I'm so excited.
So this will be a prequel to all the other movies. So this is kind of going to give the background to how The Purge actually started. So from what I've seen online, I haven't seen any trailers, but it sounds like The Purge actually was an experiment they performed on a small island, obviously the island. And then people were rewarded if they came out of The Purge alive in the end, so with prizes.
This shit's going to be wild as hell.
Yes. And, of course, it's coming out on July 4th, because it wouldn't be Independence Day without The Purge.
Can we just go ahead and make a pact to go see it on July 4th?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. Yes. Then have a barbecue afterwards.
Yes. Yes. But those are the ones that I'm most excited about. So we'll see how they go.
Cool.
Awesome.
Eli, you're awful quiet tonight.
I'm just letting the girls go first, per usual. So.
Yeah, but you're not even interjecting, man. Man,
what's up, man?
Are you a pod person?
I mean,
God.
in the sense that I do a podcast, yes, I guess.
Oh, there you go. I like that.
Good joke. Good joke. I think we're all. Obviously, if any of our listeners don't live in Nashville, we got buried under snow today.
Yes, we did.
That's true.
So I think the snow's making Eli sleepy.
I'm kind of as we've mentioned before.
Sleepy, that's for sure.
Well, as I mentioned before we hopped on, I just have a great big list of things. So like I'm checking off when y'all say one that I already have written down. So I'm just taking some notes over here.
All right. Yeah. Let's keep the ball rolling. I guess that means that it's my turn, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I know that my first one's you guys are gonna be like, oh my God, of course she picked this. Because if anyone has been listening to our podcast, if the word Hellraiser is mentioned, I'm the one that talks about it. It was my first review that I wrote for our 30 Days of Halloween movies. And it is by far probably my favorite horror movie franchise of all time. Probably close neck and neck with Nightmare on Elm Street, but I love Hellraiser. I try to watch Hellraiser every year around Halloween. right down to the terrible ones. I mean, no stone left unturned. The only thing I haven't done is watch or read the comic books. But anyways, so Hellraiser Judgment is finally getting released. I think that we've mentioned this movie a couple of times. Guys, it's not going to be fantastic, but that doesn't make me any less excited about it. It is a direct-to-video sequel, so on February 13th, you'll be able to download it. But have you guys watched the trailer for it yet?
No.
Yeah.
I did.
I need to.
Yes.
It's pretty gnarly, and it's probably going to be... I would say probably classified as torture porn, or at least borderline. It looks like it's going to be more, and if that's even possible, more gory than the originals, which are probably some of the most brutal movies ever made, which I love. I mean, I like it because it has a purpose, and if you haven't seen Hellraiser, I'm not going to explain it to you, just because you really have to see that shit for yourself. It's terrifying. It is absolutely disgusting, but it's great. It's a great story. It's really, really, I mean, it's, I would consider it supernatural horror, but it's really, really crazy. It's really weird. So this one, unfortunately, we don't know a ton about it, but I know that they are basically hunting a serial killer, and that's where Pinhead comes in.
Cool. Awesome.
We don't get Doug Bradley. That's the one downside, is that the guy that is playing Pinhead this go around is not the original. Doug Bradley did actually refuse to be recast, and it was due to some weird legal stuff. He's basically went on record saying that he feels like they're only making the movie to keep the rights to Hellraiser. So we'll see. We'll see. There's new Cenobites. There's one called The Auditor that looks really interesting. Give the trailer a watch. Give it a chance. I'm not going in with high hopes, but it at least looks like it's interesting. My favorite thing to find out was that the guy that played the original Chatterer Cenobite, if you remember which that one is,
yes,
he's actually resuming his role as the Chatterer Cenobite.
Oh,
So, and then, oh gosh, what's her face is in it? The girl that played Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street. She's playing some kind of weird role, I think.
Yeah, Heather Langenkamp.
Heather Langenkamp. She's just billed as landlady, but she's making a cameo. It'll be really interesting to watch. I think that maybe we should all get together and watch that one, since it's a direct to video. We can all pile in and watch it.
Yeah.
And subject poor Kayla to a little bit of stuff.
That's okay. I like Hellraiser because it's something it's weird. It's like one of the most original and interesting horror films that they made. It's so weird, and I really like Clive Barker, the writer. So I'm fine with that. Yeah.
So
I'll watch that. Yeah.
The thing that I'm interested to see is that the guy that's playing Pinhead now versus, Doug Bradley, because if you don't know a lot about Hellraiser, Pinhead's kind of not necessarily the main character. He's more of a secondary character that you don't get to see a lot in the first couple of films, and then they go more into his backstory later in the series. But Doug Bradley was never he doesn't talk a lot. I mean, you don't really know a ton about him, like his personality. He's just this, this otherworldly being that likes to rip people apart in various ways. So what I've been reading about the guy that's taking over that role is that he has brought and this is per Wikipedia. I was just reading up on it randomly today to kind of remind myself what was going on. But he wanted to bring a regal sense of arrogance and boredom to Pinhead.
I appreciate that.
I think that made me want to watch it even more. I want to see what he does with the character. I'm hoping that it's not going to be that bad. But people have passed out on set. People have vomited on set. It's apparently supposed to be that wild. So
cool.
That's my first one. I'm not going to go on any more about it. You guys need to take a few moments of your life and watch the trailer, because the trailer's really bizarre. So it'll be good. We'll keep a positive air about it and put it out into the universe that it's going to be good.
I think that it will be great. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
So the second one that I was going to talk about, unfortunately, I just found out per Eli that has been pushed back to 2019, and that was the New Mutants. So, but Eli, tell them why it got pushed back, because this is good news. I think everybody needs to know.
Yeah, so evidently it's getting pushed back to make it more scary or scarier. They want to add, more horror elements into it, because I think when the teaser came out, and it kind of had some callbacks to like Nightmare on Elm Street and some other ones, I think without us knowing more about it, I think we were anticipating it being just straight up a horror movie, and I think the people at Fox, it just was a little bit of the story. But then when it got the reception that it got, they're like, oh, well, okay, I guess the people really want to see a horror comic book movie. So
it's a risk. It's a big risk, in my opinion, but I think that they're going to do good things with it, and it's going to go over well. Because the casting looks great. You don't have to worry about that. I think that it'll deliver, and I think that it'll be something that hopefully kind of paves the way for a little bit more of a darker side to comic book movies.
Well, I'm not a big Fox comic book movie guy.
I'm not either.
The first three X-Men were just kind of average to me. I really didn't like the first one.
We don't talk about those.
Yeah, X2 wasn't bad. X3 was horrible. When they rebooted it with First Class, that was better. I still thought it was, lagging behind what Marvel was doing. But since they've came out with Logan and Deadpool, which are R-rated, they're their own things completely. I think they're kind of going on a new path, and it's obviously paying off. So I think if the New Mutants are going down that path, I think it's going to be pretty good. And like we were just saying, it's a big risk, but we've never really seen a horror comic book movie before. So why not, roll the dice and see what happens.
As Kayla said earlier, have an open mind. Have an open mind. So instead of that, I'm going to talk about The Strangers Prey at Night, which I think that is kind of something that a lot of people have been waiting on for a long time. The Strangers was a great movie, and it came out, I don't even remember when it came out.
Was it 2008?
Oh, man.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah,
it was a really long time ago. Hold on, let me get. Oh yeah, 2008. You were right, 2008. Yeah. So this has been 10 years.
Yeah.
Since we got the original Strangers, and I think that it went over well. I think that they actually had started making The Strangers 2. It had some some bumps and some bruises. It was supposed to begin filming, I think, in like 2011, but it just never happened. So the trailer for Pray at Night is fantastic. I think that they're kind of, it looks this way. We're not going to know, but they look like they're kind of preying a little bit more on the nostalgia, because he pulls up in that truck and he's playing Tiffany. So I hope that they use like an old school soundtrack. But Christina Hendricks is in it, so how bad could it be?
True. She's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Some of the same team that worked on the first one. I'm excited. I think that it's a long time coming, and I think it should be good. I mean, the trailer's fantastic. It's one of the trailers that's really kind of piqued my interest more than others. But that one comes out in March 9th, I think. So I think that's a good one. A good one to be on the list for this year.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And the first one, kind of echoing what you were saying, the budget was $9 million and it made $82 million at the box office. So, I mean, it was a hit.
Right? Yeah, I definitely saw that at the theaters.
I don't think I did. I can't remember. I want to say that I didn't.
Yeah, I don't think I did either.
It seems so long ago. It's like, what was I even doing?
I was in college.
There was I don't even know, maybe 5 to 7 years where I didn't see a horror movie in the theaters, and it wasn't like a conscious thing. It just happened that way. I just didn't see any movie.
Right.
And I think that was in that period. I had just moved to another place, and movies were not on my agenda at that time. So, but I think I remember, I think my roommate at the time got it. He bought it when it came out and we watched it. But yeah, it's just one of those head scratchers. It's kind of weird why it's taken so long. I mean, usually when a movie makes back, 9 or 10 times its budget, it's like, cool, we'll have the next one out next year, and this one, for whatever reason, it took forever to come back out. So we'll see.
Well, and that original movie, in my opinion, is one of those movies that's so absolutely petrifying because it's so realistic. Like, it can happen. There's nothing supernatural about it. All of these things, can and will happen, I'm sure, unfortunately, because people like to copy movies. And I think it's partially, is it based on a true story?
I don't know if
That's
it's
what they say.
Yeah, I know. I remember either the writer or the director was talking about he was influenced by the Charles Manson murders.
Right, absolutely.
So
it was the Manson murders, and it was something. It was like just recently, like break-ins that had happened in his neighborhood or something like that.
I think it's influenced by real stuff for sure.
Yeah, so I think that preys on that type of fear versus, just having things that are scary for the sake of being scary. It's like, oh shit, like I better lock my door when I get home. Yeah, and I fucking hate movies like that, but I'm so excited because it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, that year that it came out, a guy I was dating at the time dressed up as the Baghead dude for Halloween.
Oh yeah,
and looked just like him.
Dude, that's
easy.
That's a good Halloween
costume. Like people wearing Purge masks. Like I want one of those Purge masks. But I ain't gonna kill nobody. So that's my list. Oh, speaking of, you had just, oh shit, what did you just mention? Never mind, I lost a thought. So continue. I'll come back to it because I had something to say. Oh no, I remember. I didn't know Quentin Tarantino was doing a Manson movie, and Leonardo DiCaprio signed on to it.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Wow, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, so interesting.
So excited.
Yeah.
I love anything involving Charles Manson. And movies about stuff like that, so I'm super excited. Oh, and I had a surprise one, and this is more for me and Eli. There's a movie that's slated to come out this year, spring or summer. And it's called Parts Unknown, and it's a wrestling horror movie.
Dude, it's on my list. Yeah. I didn't know if you'd heard about it. Yeah.
This was like, I wasn't gonna mention it. I was just gonna whip it out.
So, what is a wrestling horror movie about?
I know, so intrigued.
Is there like plot or?
No, I have no idea.
Amazing.
But it looks really. It looks really interesting. It's got like a demon dark nun on the front with an upside down cross, but she's in like a wrestling outfit. It's really weird. So that's gonna be
awesome.
That's gonna be interesting to see. I can't.
That would be a really funny one to like live tweet.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Did y'all see? This came out.
Jake the Snake is gonna be in it.
Oh god.
Yay,
Did y'all see?
awesome.
I think it came out 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago now. But Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies.
No.
I actually think it was a trauma movie, but it was like Kurt Angle's in it, and it was one of Roddy Piper's last movies.
Oh my god. No,
I want to say maybe
that.
Christian was in it. But yeah, I have it. I'm not ashamed to admit it.
I need to watch
if
this.
we want to get together and watch that one, that would be a fun one.
That would be hilarious.
Do it.
So
That's so funny. Oh, well, that's the end of my list. I just had to throw that one in there because it was funny.
cool. Well, my list is similar to my list for the last show we did, the recap of 2017. So I just wrote down a really long list of everything coming out that's horror related. I may not go into detail with a lot of them, but I at least want to throw them out there. Just like the From Parts Unknown, at least getting it out there, people know it's there, whether we, discuss it in depth or not. We recorded after Insidious Chapter 4 came out. That came out January 5th, so it's already been released. It's already been a hit, all that. Next up, the Winchester movie, Winchester.
Ooh, that has Helen Mirren, right?
Yes.
That one looks pretty interesting.
Yes, once I saw the trailer, when I watched Shape of Water, I was like, oh, that makes a lot more sense, like seeing it in a theater. And,
right.
so I think that one is going to be pretty good. There's another Cloverfield movie coming out. It's called God Particle.
Ooh,
Nice.
I love those movies.
I love a good
Me
sci-fi.
too.
Mm-hmm. That one is
Wait, is that one considered horror, or is it just sci-fi?
I'm thinking it's going to be kind of like Alien, like it's going to have some horror elements.
Okay.
I think it's predominantly sci-fi, but
Sure.
they're all kind of horror thriller-ish. But that comes out on Blaze Day 420. So if you didn't remember.
Light 'em up. Smoke them if you got them, friends.
Smoke 'em if you got them. Another one that's coming out. Most of these you guys have already mentioned. So like the next one, and I didn't do this totally in chronological, but the next one after that's like August. The Predator, the new Predator movie is coming out.
Yeah.
I'm kind of
that one, will definitely be horror.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about this one now because there was a either a leaked photo or a behind the scenes photo, and it looked like the human good guys were fighting with the alien or the predator, the alien predator, whatever you want to call it. So it's almost like the rumor is there's there's someone above the predator, like a super predator, and so he has to get the humans to help, so it's almost like they're
love
working
a good
together.
super predator.
Yeah. So I don't know. It sounds like an interesting. Sounds like an interesting concept. And Shane Black's doing it, so I'll go watch it. I don't care. Then there's that shark movie coming out, Meg.
Oh my God.
Nope.
That looks hilarious.
I haven't seen that one yet.
I'll pass.
I mean, I would love to see if Jason Statham punches the shark. Is kind of what
I don't like sharks.
I'm hoping to see it. Well, it's like a megalodon, so
it's
I guess
like an absurdly
it's just a really
large,
big shark. Yeah,
it's like
I'll pass.
it's like larger than a submarine. It's ginormous.
It's just completely ridiculous, and I love. It's hilarious.
It does look like it's a good production value. You know, like this looks like something that would be on Sci-Fi, like Sharknado or something. But like it actually looks like they put some money into it.
Was this the one that it's like a partnership with like a Chinese production company or something?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's what it's going on. So there's probably a lot of money in it. Hopefully it looks good. Good enough.
I'll stick with Sharknado. Hurricane sharks versus one big shark.
Yeah, we'll see. This one actually I'm pretty excited about because I had no idea it was happening, but they're making a Killer Clowns sequel. Killer Clowns
cool.
came out in 1988, so 30 years later, they're Return of the Killer Clowns, and it's just stupid, but it's actually like more. I really wouldn't say horror, but more. There was some gore in the first one, like the one clown knocks the guy's head off and stuff. So, being a kid, it was always kind of it kind of bridged the gap between your PG-13 and some of your harder R stuff. So that'll be coming out this year. We mentioned Jack Black. They're doing the Goosebumps sequel. That'll be out this year. Goosebumps Horrorland.
I loved the Goosebumps movie.
I didn't see it.
I did too.
It's so
I haven't seen it
so
yet.
fun. It's adorable.
I bought it on Blu-ray. Like it's just I have no shame. It's really.
I need to watch it.
It's so charming. It's so fun.
In that vein, Hotel Transylvania 3 will be out, and I watched the first two. I thought they were enjoyable. So definitely more of a PG type of deal, but it's got Dracula in it, so it's definitely horror. Kind of going back to the comic book thing, Venom will be out this October.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, that seems awesome.
That's
Tom
supposed
Hardy.
to-
Tom Hardy
I feel like that one was like, we're still kind of on the fence of whether that's considered like horror or not.
Yeah, I think
So we don't really know.
I think they're going to incorporate some elements, and
That definitely would have been like my number one mention.
yeah. So that's a little too early to. I think once we get a trailer, probably in March or so, we'll have a better idea. But
Who cares? It's Tom Hardy. I want to talk about it anyway.
Yay, dreamy.
let's see. I don't remember if we mentioned Truth or Dare or not. That comes out in April.
We didn't. We kind of. I mean, that's a movie that I'm really going to be on the fence about until I see it. Just because it looks like it could be one of those like tweeny movies, but.
Yeah.
At the same time, it doesn't look that bad. So I'll probably give that one a shot.
And I want to say...
I like urban legend movies. Well, they haven't done anything like that in a long time.
That's true. It is kind of different from what we have seen in a while.
Let's see. Yeah, Blumhouse is doing it, so it should be pretty decent.
Yeah.
Well, it'll make a lot of money at least.
It might be not terrible. Yeah. We'll see. That one's up in the air.
Let me pull this one up real quick. Yeah, it'll be kind of. I'll have to see more of it. I think it's going to be more of a thriller, but they have. It's called Game Night. It's coming out in February. Rachel McAdams, Jason Bateman, Kyle Chandler, Michael C. Hall. I think one more kind of big person, but it's couples get together to play games, and it ends up being kind of a twisted version of it or something. So I think it's gonna be more of a thriller, but I think it's gonna have some horror elements in it. So that one They're calling it like
that sounds interesting.
Yeah, they're calling it like a black comedy /
people playing games
/ thriller. Yeah. So that one's a maybe.
Right.
And then
it's on the radar.
Yeah, it's on the radar. And then we said no. We already raved about A Quiet Place. So okay, and then I'm going out on a limb, and we were talking about at the end of the show, talking about what we think is going to be the biggest ones. I think this one will probably be the biggest one, but the Halloween movie that's coming out.
I agree.
Whether it's a Drake sequel.
Return to Jamie Lee.
Yeah.
Woo! Yay!
John Carpenter's doing the music again. There's also, I saw today, actually right before we got on the call, there's a 40th anniversary documentary that will be released right in time for the new movie too in October. So,
nice.
And by the time this airs, it will have passed. But today's John Carpenter's birthday, so that's also something
Happy
else.
birthday, John!
Yeah. Who was it? Rotten Tomato said he was dead. So that was. They said something about he would have been 70, and he's.
Oh my God!
He replied to him on Twitter and said, "I may look dead, but I'm not dead." And so,
oh my God, that's rude.
Yeah,
that is.
Do your research. I know. Oh my gosh.
So that one, obviously, there's still a demand for it, and there's still the cult following and a huge legacy, and. I think it's since it has all of the, even the guy that played Michael Myers in the first one's coming back to play him in this one. You know what I mean? Like everyone that's still available is on board with this.
It's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how they execute everything will be interesting. We've talked about they originally were just starting after part 2 and wiping out everything. From 3 on, which pisses me off, but you guys know I love 3. Now they're saying they're erasing 2 as well, like they're not even acknowledging part 2, which took place 10 minutes after part 1 ended. Yeah, so it's
right.
Some interviews I've heard they're saying it's a like an alternate timeline kind of a deal, like it's almost like a reimagining of what happened. So like I don't really know. I'm more concerned about it than I am excited, to be honest with you. Like the more I kind of get details, I'm like, well, why did they do this? Like, what is going on with this? So I don't know. It's still, again, it's still Michael Myers. It's still a Halloween movie. It's, John Carpenter's still involved. Like it's, it's going to be hard to miss, obviously, but, I'm kind of cautiously optimistic about it.
My thing is like, I'm sorry. How many Halloween movies do you want to do before it's enough?
Yeah. Well,
it's like no more Freddy Krueger, no more Jason, no more we don't need it. Just let us have the good stuff. We've already had to put up with the bad stuff. Why do you keep going?
Well, it's kind of, for better or worse, these movies are, our generation's Dracula and Frankenstein, and, you think about how many Dracula movies there's been, over 100, so.
Yeah.
And, I'd rather have 8 of Michael Myers than 100 like they did with Dracula, you know what I mean? So.
Right.
So we'll see.
To be fair, if people from the OG series are participating, we can hope that they're finally going to do some shit justice.
Yeah.
Sure. It's I hope that they don't participate if it's a crappy project with bad writing, and I hope it's decent enough for them to.
I think
if they show up, then it's
name on it. Yeah,
I think it'll be fun.
Because you look at Jamie Lee Curtis. She has had a very long career since Halloween, and she was just on Scream Queens, and she doesn't need a paycheck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for her,
she's fine.
So
she's not doing this to try to revive her career or anything.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, I'm always a little skeptical of stuff like that too. But hopefully it'll be good. We'll see. Cross our fingers.
Rightfully so. Reboots haven't always given us the most hope in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what made me a little concerned looking at like the long list of releases for this year. I was like, oh, it's just like a lot of sequels and stuff, but you know, hopefully they'll do something creative and interesting, and hopefully we've gotten to a point in our taste as moviegoers and as people who are making movies who are like, okay, I can't just put out just derivative garbage over and over again and people will still go see it. Like, hopefully if a movie's not good, people just won't go and they'll stop making stuff like that. So I'm hoping we're getting to that point where they realize, like, oh, we can't do that anymore. We need to give them some good quality stuff. You know, I mean, if we can get it on TV, then they got to step it up. You know, it's like,
I think that's what happened with like the you know, the Friday the 13th reboot and the Nightmare on Elm Street reboot.
Yeah.
And it was funny because, I mean, even the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like that one, you know, to me, that I wouldn't call that was a remake. I mean, that was actually the exact same thing, just remake.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't really know the difference necessarily between a remake and a reboot and a prequel and a sequel, and you know, because Evil Dead wasn't necessarily, it was more of a sequel, but it was in the same universe, not you know, not necessarily directly tied. There's just so much gray area with shit like that.
Yeah,
true.
Like the Friday the 13th was a reboot, I think, because they kind of combined like 2 or 3 movies into one, and that was supposed to be a launching pad for like a new series. And I think the Nightmare on Elm Street was like more of a remake because they copied like actual scenes and so it was just, that was rough. You know, but going back to that, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like that remake they did like 2003 or 04 with Jessica Biel, Miss Timberlake, as you were. I mean, they did like 2 more movies after that one, or maybe 3. That one that just came out last year, Leatherface or whatever it was.
Oh yeah.
Which I still haven't watched.
No.
I think that should be out for rent soon.
Yeah.
Saw the other day.
It's just hard to, you know, it's hard to gauge what they're going to say. Okay, well, let's just do another one, you know, because I think that Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 2003, I guess it must have done pretty decent money because, you know, again, because Friday the 13th and the Nightmare on Elm Street, I think they did okay money-wise, but I think they just got panned. So it was more of a reception kind of a deal than the actual money at the box office. So,
and I know Eli mentioned he's put his stake in the Halloween as the one that's going to be the big hit this year. So, what do we think is going to be the big hit this year? Obviously, last year was It, and then Get Out. What's the one that's going to be the big thing this year?
I mean, we all know that The Purge is going to do well. The Purge always does well.
True. I mean, I think the big Hollywood movies, you know, Slenderman, Purge 4, Nun, Halloween, you know, I think those are probably going to be the big hitters. You know, I think
they're coming on the tailcoats of such a big year. So everybody's still on this hype train for it. And you know, we've been spoiled the past couple of years with really, really good movies.
Yeah,
which,
last year,
speaking of, that just reminded me to talk about Super Dark Times. And this is a 2017 movie, but I have to interject. This movie is fantastic. It came out last year, and it's on Netflix. It's called Super Dark Times. It's a weird, like, kind of angsty teenager movie, but it does not end up the way that you think it's going to end up. So watch it.
Awesome.
Let us know how you like it. But it's shit like that spoils us.
Yeah.
So we see these fantastic movies and we're like, okay, it can only get better from here. So I think that we're coming up on, you know, they're going to try to live up to what happened in 2017. So, I mean, I think that a lot of these have my big hitter, if we're going to consider Venom a horror movie, that's my big hitter is Venom.
That's Tom Hardy's a big draw in that universe with the R-rated stuff doing so well in the superhero world. That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's gonna knock it out.
I think that'll be a good one too.
Yeah, I think the heavy hitter will be The Nun. I think that'll be the big one since the Conjuring universe is so popular. And I love the Conjuring movies, but I'm not a huge fan of the spin-offs into the universe, like the Annabelles. I could give or take those. I don't really like them, but
I haven't seen Creation. I haven't seen any of those.
Yeah.
So that last one they came out with, y'all, don't waste your time. I hate to say, because I do love Annabelle, but that last one was rotten.
So we'll, the jury will be out to see if it's like as stellar as the Conjuring movies are. I'm sure it'll kill it at the box office, though. I'm sure it'll just blow everything away. So we'll see. I'm crossing my fingers for it. I like James Wan, so he's not directing it, but if he's involved with it, I'm happy to see it do well for his sake.
Yeah, for my big hitter, I have to agree with Eli. I hate to not veer off and do something else, but I think that's going to be awesome, and with Jamie Lee Curtis and everything. I mean, it's one of my personal all-time favorite movies, so I'm super looking forward to it. And, October is awesome already, and I'm sure that's when it's going to be released, hopefully.
Yeah, I think they're saying
October more awesome.
I would hope so.
October 18th at this point.
Nice. That would be great. It had, halfway through the month, have something to look forward to.
I mean, Danny McBride is involved with this, so I think it'll be good.
I love him.
I think once the trailer comes out, I think you're going to really kind of like what happened with It. I mean, once that trailer came out, it went to a different level. So I think same thing with this one.
Hopefully we get one eventually, sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
Probably, my guess is probably March-ish. They usually kind of start hitting it hard about 6 months out, so March or April-ish, something like that. I forgot one, and then I kind of wanted to interject with some of the TV stuff, which there's not much, so that won't take very long, but it said this comes out the 22nd, which is next Monday, so that's weird, but Summer of '84. It's the people that directed Turbo Kid from 2015, which I loved. It's basically like if you Google Summer of '84, like all the headlines are basically saying it's basically Stranger Things with serial killers. So it's it's kids on bikes. It's 1984, but there's a serial killer in this town, and they're the kids have to figure out who it is. So.
And what's it called again?
Summer of '84.
Summer of '84.
So I think that's going to be if it's coming out on like a Monday, that's going to be more like a direct to DVD or video VOD or something like that. So, but anyways, I did want to mention some of the TV stuff. Again, there's not many, but the big hitters are going to be back in 2018. Walking Dead got renewed for a 9th season. It does have a female showrunner this year, so that'll be cool. Fear the Walking Dead's coming back. The Exorcist is coming back for season 3. American Horror Story, Supernatural, Z Nation. Those are some of the kind of big horror movies that are still going strong. Supernatural's on like season 13 or 14 or something. It's just crazy. The new one's coming out. I just saw the trailer for this a couple of days ago. It's called The Terror. It's going to be on AMC. I don't know if it's like a Yeti kind of a deal, but it's like it's back in like the 1800s, and one of the guys from Mad Men's on it. I can't remember his name. He was in Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr. But they're basically the British. They're trying to find a pathway to China, like a quick pathway, and it's one of the big old ships, and they're in somewhere where there's ice on the water and stuff like that, and then just weird stuff starts happening. and like one scene, there's like decapitated heads on the snow and stuff. So like they're almost playing up like a monster, but you can't really tell from the trailer. But I think
that's based on a book by Dan Simmons, I think his name is. Apparently the book is awesome. It's gigantic. It's like a brick of a book. But it's gotten recommended to me a million times, so I'll have to read it before the show comes out because it sounds awesome.
Yeah, and it's on AMC, so I mean they obviously do the Walking Dead, so I think it's gonna have pretty high production value. The third season of Channel Zero is really coming out. It's called Butcher's Block. Comes out February 7th, so very soon. I did watch last season's. The one about I'll call it a haunted house for lack of a better explanation. And one of the girls from Christmas Horror Story she was in that show too. So that was pretty good. Netflix is also redoing The Haunting of Hill House.
What?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
I know everybody's like, hold on.
Where did you read this?
On the interwebs.
Oh my god!
Yeah, they announced it last summer.
What?
But it's still projected to be a TV show released in 2018. So.
Okay.
Shit!
Yeah.
I really like that, so I'm really excited.
Yeah. And then if we were doing what we just did for TV shows, I think this might be, it's talking about like new shows, not, Walking Dead or whatever. Just, I think this would be the one that is the big hit for new horror. But it's Castle Rock on Hulu. It's the Stephen King universe show.
Ooh.
And it has elements. So in the first trailer that they released, there was nods or characters from It, Dolores Claiborne, Needful Things, Salem's Lot, Shawshank Redemption, Dreamcatcher, Night Shift, The Green Mile, Misery, Hearts in Atlantis, The Shining, The Mangler, 4 Past Midnight, Different Seasons, Nightmare and Dreamscapes, and The Night Flyer. So they're not really saying how everything's connected, but they did announce Scott Glenn, who's been in a ton of stuff. He is playing Sheriff Alan Pangborn, he was the sheriff in Needful Things and The Dark Half. So he was in 2 of Stephen King's.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
And Bill Skarsgård's in it. So he was just he was in
Count me in.
Yeah,
I'm here. I'm here for it.
He was in that little movie It last year, and and KB, well, I think you'll like this. Jane Levy's in it. She was in Evil Dead, of course.
Mm-hmm. I'm in.
Terry O'Quinn from Lost is in it. Sissy Spacek is in it.
I love her.
Dude, that's crazy.
Let's see, Melanie Linsky is in it. I know her from Togetherness on HBO. She was one of the Duplass brothers' wife, but she's been in everything from Coyote Ugly to Sweet Home Alabama to last year she was in I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore with Elijah Wood, that came out on Netflix, I think. And then who was that other guy? What was his name? Andre Holland, who was in he was in Moonlight last year, the Oscar-winning one. And then he was also in American Horror Story Roanoke. So
cool.
Pretty good cast. It's all tied to Stephen King, so it, I'm sure.
And it's on Hulu, right?
It's on Hulu. J.J. Abrams is producing.
Holy crap!
It's supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be here in the fall, in time for Halloween.
That's so cool.
I better get Hulu.
Right.
So.
Right.
So
that's pretty damn exciting.
I think that's going to be. It's kind of, we've talked about before with it and Gerald's Game and all the stuff that Stephen King did last year. I mean, the Stephen King Renaissance could go on for like 15 more years. Like, he has so much material out there.
Well, and they're capitalizing on it right now.
Yeah, and he actually has another book coming out next year, or this year, too. I can't remember what it's called, but he'll have another one coming out. So. And he's got 2 sons who are writing and killing it as well. So he'll just keep going in their genes, if anything else.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
That's pretty, that's, so it sounds like we're pretty stacked for this year already.
Yeah,
that's not even mentioning the things that we've either forgotten or we don't know about.
Yeah, that's, like I said, when we started talking about doing this one, I was like, okay, so this will be like a 10-minute episode, because I really didn't realize all the stuff that was on the deck. And, yeah, there's a lot. And I'm sure there's probably 5 or 10 more that won't be monster hits, but it'll be, at least worth mentioning down the road. So,
well, like I said, I mean, we're probably going to get surprises throughout the year, hopefully, of stuff that we didn't know was coming. And
I think we were going to mention, I mean, technically it did come out last month, so last year, but Black Mirror, Netflix. I think well, I don't know where Lana's at, but I have 1 episode left of the new season, and
we just started season 1, but I'm loving it so far.
God.
I know.
Okay, we won't talk about it.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. But it's really good.
It's something. It is.
And I started watching Electric Dreams on Amazon, which is kind of their version, but unlike unlike original stuff, it's Philip K. Dick, who did Blade Runner and Total Recall and Man in the High Castle. So it's based on his stories. I was telling the 2 Kaylas before we started. The first episode I really enjoyed. Anne Paquin from True Blood and Trick or Treat. And then Terrence Howard, who was in Iron Man, and he's on Empire right now on Fox. So 2 really, both of them are Oscar. Well, Anne Paquin's an Oscar winner. Terrence Howard's an Oscar nominee. So 2, heavyweights in the first episode. Second episode kind of fell a little flat. The special effects were kind of garbage, and that kind of distracted from the overall story, I think. But Bryan Cranston from Mr. Breaking Bad himself is in either the 3rd or the 4th episode, and I think he directed it, and it's pretty cool because he assembled his crew on that episode are all female, so all if he didn't direct it, then it was a female director and writer and production and the whole 9. He hired top to bottom, he hired all female, so that's pretty
neat.
awesome.
Yeah.
What a cool guy. Good guy, Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, cool guy.
He's a cool guy.
So yeah, but I think that's all for this episode. We didn't go quite as long as we usually do, but I think we went longer than we thought we were going to go. So.
We had a lot. So we still had a lot to talk about. It was a lot more that a lot more than we thought was going to come. So you're welcome. Mm-hmm. For all of the information, you guys can mark your calendars with everything that's. I think we should just create a master calendar for everyone to access.
I think that's a good idea. And if there's anything we missed, y'all holler at us on social medias.
Or Lord knows we probably forgot something.
Yeah.
I'm sure we did, and I'm sure people are excited about different things, because I know the 4 of us all have different tastes, and I'm sure people are like, well, this one's coming up, and it'd be cool to learn if anybody has any maybe like surprise hitters that might be coming out of left field that we might not have heard of or seen anywhere.
Inside info.
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah. Kayla, do you want to throw out our socials real quick?
Yeah, speaking of social media, we're at Music City Horror on Facebook, which I think we just hit over, how many likes?
10,000.
10,000 likes. So thank you guys.
We're internet famous.
know, amazing.
We finally made it.
We made it. So yeah, we're on Facebook, doing quite well. Thank you. And you can find us at Instagram, also at Music City Horror, Twitter. We're also at Indie Popcorn as well. So feel free to check us out there. And we'll look forward to you guys keeping in touch with us about new stuff coming out, what you're looking forward to. Can't wait to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
Not to brag, 10,425 is our.
Oh my god. Love it. Take that, nerds.
So yeah, and we will have. Hopefully, we'll get a new episode out sooner. We've all been with the new year. We've been busy. I was actually out of town with work last week, and it's just kind of hard to do it remotely when it's that far remote. So hopefully we'll get a new one out sooner for February. And we're going to have the new segment that Miss Lana is spearheading starting on the next episode. And I was pretty bummed. We have something working, and I've been mentioning this for like 3 episodes, and the dog's barking, and we just...
Pliny wanted to say hey.
It's
Pliny.
Well, he's adorable. So, and it's 90% finished. I can't fully say it yet, but
just leave some suspense.
Yeah.
They can wait.
But I'm pretty sure by the next show we'll be able to announce something pretty cool that will be happening with us and with you. It'll be a collaborative thing. So we're pretty excited about that. And so, yeah, we're hoping to kick off 2018 with a bang, but it's fine.
Fun stuff.
We'll get there next time. And I think that's it. Oh, we're going to shout out Dead Cereal, the podcast. They have recently given us a shout out, and he's really cool on Instagram. We chat and stuff. So it's dead_cereal. I really like their logo. They have a really cool logo that they use for their program. Tennessee Horror News. Those guys, we've been talking since we started, and we met at the Full Moon Horror and Tattoo Convention, and they send me their episodes a couple of days before they put them up, and we bounce ideas off of each other. So they're cool. They're local too. They're in the Nashville area. So, did y'all have anybody you wanted to shout out, or was it just me this time?
No, but I'll go ahead and plug Southern Underground Pro again.
Yeah.
Especially since we've got an event coming up on the 25th of February.
Yeah, 25th.
So they're a wrestling promotion. If you don't know, me and Eli like wrestling a little bit. We're going to WrestleMania together, which should be fun. But they actually run a podcast called Kick Out at 2. My friend Jesse does it, and they have their wrestling promotion that does shows every couple of months, and we've got some great names coming out. So check out Kick Out at 2. And then the subgraps is SUP_GRAPS. Achy Breaky Heart is going to be February 25th. And that's at Basement East. It's going to be super fun. If you like wrestling, and you like cool people, go to that. I will be there. I'm assuming Eli's also going to be there.
Yes.
I took off that day, so
keep us posted about that. Sounds cool.
It's super fun, and yeah, Kick Out at 2 is a great podcast. I always shout out to Blue Bard Cage as well. I want to get Justin on here to talk about some horror movies, because that's all we talked about at Mania last year was our obsession. So we'll probably have him on here to co-host eventually. That's another wrestling podcast, because that's all I listen to is stuff about wrestling.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's a good stopping point. So, so we will see everyone next time, and we will have this up whenever. I don't even know what day it is right now. 16th? Okay. This should be up Friday the 19th. Is that right? 17, 18, 19? Yeah.
Something like that.
And
I rarely know what day it is.
Yeah. And we will see everyone in February. And thanks for listening. See you then.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.